Hey there, my name is Erik Berglund. I'm the founder of The Language of Leadership, and in partnership with CNR Magazine and RTIlearning.com, it gives me great pleasure to bring you our video series, How to Do the Thing. And today we're here to talk about how do you do the trust thing. Now before I go too far into this one, you gotta know that trust is not something that you develop immediately. So whatever I'm about to teach you here, it's not like it's gonna work like a magic bullet. This isn't a do this one time and all of a sudden people trust you. It also won't undo years of mistrust. It might take a little while, is what I'm trying to get at. But what's important to recognize is that the best way to develop trust with somebody is to engage with them the way they want to be engaged with, to lead them the way that they want to be led. And you may have inadvertently been doing damage to trust without even knowing it in the same way that I had. See, I think that the golden rule kind of got it wrong. We tend to think treat others the way they want to be treated, and that's good rule of thumb for the way you treat people. But how you lead people is a little bit more subjective than that. There's more to it. Let me tell you a story. I used to work with a guy named Jake. Jake worked for me. We had been peers beforehand. I got promoted, became his boss. And for a number of years, I did one specific thing that I thought would make Jake really happy. See, when I had been his peer, our boss would call us out of the blue and start asking us a bunch of questions to dig into projects we were working on. And I hated that. I hated being put on the spot out of nowhere to dig into something that maybe I could remember, maybe I needed to dig through my notes. I would have appreciated an advanced heads up. So that's what I started doing when I got promoted. I said, I'm never gonna be like that. So I'm always gonna reach out to my people ahead of time, text them or email them and say, hey, later today, I'm gonna reach out to you and ask you some questions about this project or this thing that we've got going on. Please be ready for that. I did that for 5 years with Jake. And then one day, I finally had the courage to go to him and everybody on my team and ask the question, hey, what can I be doing better as a leader for you? And I heard some great things, but the thing I heard from Jake blew me away. Because the first thing that Jake said, and I mean, he said it immediately. He didn't stop and think. He said this immediately, was, Erik, stop sending me those texts and emails before you call me, just call me. And I was blown away, right? I thought I was doing something that should be earning his trust, making him feel more valued because I respected him in the same way I wanted to be respected. But he shared with me, look, every time you send me that text, every time you send me that email, all I think is that you don't believe I know the information. I just think you need to give me a heads up because you don't believe that I actually have that information available for you. He thought every time I did this that it was a sign of how little I believed in him. For 5 years, I had been doing this incorrectly with him. Out of the goodness of my heart, out of the golden rule ideal, I had been doing something to undermine my relationship with somebody who worked for me without even knowing it. And from this, we can learn a really valuable lesson. Don't lead people the way you want to be led. Lead people the way they want to be led. If you do this, you will rapidly build or restore trust. So how do you do that? Well, you ask a bunch of different questions. You don't have to ask them all at once. Reality is you could go to any one of the people that you work with and simply say, hey, I realize we've been working together for a long time now, but I also realize I've never asked you how you like to be led and what I can do in order to serve you better as a leader. Could I buy you a cup of coffee? Could we chat about it sometimes? Now, I'm not saying you need to go do this with everybody, but there's a few relationships where you know they're a bit stickier than they need to be, where there's friction or tension, and there probably doesn't have to be the case. But if you struck up a conversation with them and then you asked them, what are some of the things I do as a leader that you enjoy? What are some of the things I'm doing that might drive you nuts? How do you like to be held accountable? If I have to share a hard observation with you, how would you want me to go about doing that? What are some of your ideas of what we could be doing in order to work better together? How are you trying to grow in your career? What skills are you trying to get better at? What responsibilities do you think you could take on if you wanted to, if there was an opportunity? These are the types of questions, we call them the rules of engagement at the language of leadership, that if you knew these things about the people that you lead, you would change the way you interact with them. Now, you can't be everything to everybody. I'm not saying you have to have a big master list of notes of how you treat everybody in every given situation. But if you know a few things about how a person would prefer to be led, about the types of interactions they prefer or don't, and you honor those, and they see you honoring them, they'll feel a lot more trust with you. They'll value their relationship more, and you'll probably get a lot more done together. As I mentioned, this isn't a magic bullet. It's not gonna undo years of mistrust. But your well-intentioned effort to be a better leader for them by asking them how they would like to be led, how they would like to be held accountable, how they would like to be supported, things along those lines, is going to break down any of the barriers that you might have, and over time, rebuild some of the relationship that might be damaged. I'm Erik Berglund from The Language of Leadership. I hope this has been helpful for you. Come back next month for our next episode of How to Do the Thing. We'll see you then.